Hello again, fellow audiophiles. I am Wave Theory, and in this video we are taking a look at this, the FiiO M21 digital audio player. This is an Android-based device. It has a $330 US dollar MSRP. If it is available from any retailers who carry it, who I am an affiliate link partner with, I will put an affiliate link down in the description below. However, this unit came directly from FiiO. FiiO has made no attempt to influence my opinion on this piece in any way, so all thoughts that you are about to hear are mine and mine alone. And as with most FiiO products, I'm pretty sure I get to keep it, but I will still do my best to be as honest and as forthright with you about my opinions of this piece as possible. And this piece I'm actually pretty excited about. It represents some really positive changes from FiiO, particularly for their small headphone amplifiers and all of that. So find out why I say that and why I'm excited about this little digital audio player right on the other side of shameless self-promotion.
Hi, it's me again, 14 months later and a whole foot taller. Now, since Wave Theory liked the first 10,000 subscriber play button I made him, maybe he wants a 25,000 subscriber play button. This can only happen if you subscribe, though. Now, since over 60% of the watch time comes from unsubscribed viewers, I'm going to need you to subscribe. You can also sign up for his Patreon or send him money in PayPal. Links in the description. Now, on to the video.
All right, we'll do overhead view on this mostly just to get a close-up on the unit itself. The packaging and the boxing is really simplistic, so I'm not really going to show you that here. But let me just go through my takeaways here real quick on this unit. At $330 US dollars, I think this thing is quite a bargain. It sounds really good. And the thing that impressed me the most about its sound, over and above what previous FiiO DAPs have done, and for context, like I reviewed the FiiO M11 Plus back, it's been a while ago now, and my biggest complaint about that unit was the amplifier in it was not very powerful and was just kind of underwhelming. The amp in this little thing is truly impressive and drives full-size headphones pretty well. So combine that with just kind of that buttery smoothness of Cirrus Logic DAC chips in there, and this thing sounds really good. And at $330, again, I think is a real bargain. The only issue that I have with it really is just in the ergonomics and that it's very easy to touch the buttons on the side. Okay, there are my takeaways. Use timestamps to jump around and watch the parts that are of most interest and relevance to you. Okay, tech details on this thing. So again, the FiiO M21, $330 US dollars in price. Its digital to analog conversion is handled by a quad array of Cirrus Logic CS43198 DAC chips in there. Its internal amplifier from the balanced headphone output, 4.4mm headphone output, is rated at 950 milliwatts per channel into a 32 ohm load. That does not sound like a lot, but again, as we're going to go into, this thing actually has a fair amount of kick to it from that amplifier. Interestingly enough, like this thing also has a desktop mode. Like if you plug in an external power source on this, you don't even have to use the internal battery, and you can power this from external power, and add, I don't want to say it because we'll use the word gain twice here, but it will add an additional super high gain mode if you use that. So I mean, just that's an interesting feature. We're going to go into all of this as well. But there are the basic tech specs. It is based on Android 13, so it is a full Android device. And so, I mean, you can download and put third-party apps on it, like USB Audio Player Pro if you want. You can do the Tidal app, the Qobuz app, etc., etc. Okay, Spotify if you want, all of that. Snapdragon processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a micro SD card slot in it, which is rated to support micro SD cards up to 2 terabytes. I put a 1 terabyte card in it for testing purposes, and it worked just fine. All right, there's my reflection. Hello, how are you? Okay. So it's a small, compact unit. I mean, digital audio player. It's not even particularly thick. It ships with this like navy blue colored silicone like case over it. Just pop the unit out here so you can see it. Okay, in all of its glory. Maybe there we go. Okay. Okay, just basic silicone case and all that. There is a screen protector. You can kind of see the edge of it on there that is placed on it at the factory, which is nice, so you don't have to deal with it. On this side, we have transport buttons, okay, right there. On the opposite side, we have screen on off, we have main power on off, we've got volume up down, we have a hold switch right here, and then here is where you they call it D mode, which just means desktop mode right here. This is where you engage that. So again, you plug in an external power source, flip this up right here, and it no longer draws down the battery, but it also does not charge the battery. I learned this the hard way. When I plugged this in to charge it up, I did not know that I had this switch on right here and just wasn't charging. And I even eventually emailed FiiO and was like, it's not charging. What's wrong with it? And they're like, you put it in D mode, stupid. Okay? They said it in a much, much more friendly way than that. That's just how I felt after I learned that. Okay. Bottom panel here, there is the micro SD card slot right there. Here is the USB data port, so that's where all of the audio stuff happens. And then the red one right there you see labeled as power, so that is the charging port, and if you want to use it in desktop mode, it is the power input for that. Top panel, you get two ports right here, 4.4 millimeter Pentacon balanced output right here. This can be a powered output or a fixed line level output if you just want to use this as a DAC in there and do an analog out from there. This is a 3.5 millimeter single-ended headphone output that can also double as a line out as well, and also it can be a coaxial SPDIF output if you want it to be as well. However, there is no coaxial adapter included in the box, so you're going to have to buy an aftermarket cable from that, and I think you have to buy them from FiiO, because I couldn't get it to work with the plugs and all that I have, and after looking into it on FiiO's website, it looks like you have to buy a 3.5 millimeter TRRS cable at one end and RCA coax on the other end. I will try to put a link down in the description for this. And I think it's wired, if I understood their diagrams correctly, that the coax output is wired. Tip and first ring are just floating, meaning they're not connected to anything. And then the second ring is the signal, and the fourth ring is the ground. Actually, no, those are backwards. But the point is, the 3.5 millimeter output is wired in a little bit of a funky manner if you want to do the SPDIF output, and they don't include an adapter. You'll have to get that aftermarket. So I don't have the correct adapter with me, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to test that part. Okay. So this is, again, an Android device here, okay? And you get a nice picture of the 4 Cirrus Logic chips in there, and then again, you swipe it up, and it is just straight up an Android device. So you've got the Play Store there. You have FiiO's built-in music player. Okay. Oh, that's this down here. Okay. And so forth. Then I like this option a lot right here. This has a built-in Roon-ready output on this. So this can be a Roon streamer for you, a Roon endpoint if you have Roon. And I actually use that here in my home on that. You can see that that was the last track I was listening to on this. Okay, so come on. Okay, we do want to exit there. Tape mode just kind of turns the interface into what looks like an old Walkman kind of a thing right there. And you can buy an aftermarket case for this that actually the case you put on it makes it look like a Walkman, which is interesting, okay, and unique, but that's just a thing that is present here. And I must not be tapping this button right there. We go. Okay, and so forth. And again, you get FiiO's built-in music player on this too. So, I mean, it handles pretty large libraries and so forth on there if you need it to as well. All right, let's look at other options. Okay, Wi-Fi, you get a plethora of Bluetooth here. I didn't use it a whole lot, so you can like connect Bluetooth headphones to this. It has Bluetooth output. It also is a Bluetooth receiver. So I think if you have a third-party device that you want to do cast Bluetooth sound to this, you can do that through here in this. And it supports just about all of the Bluetooth codecs under the sun right now, okay? So then mode choose. We have several different modes here. So there's basic Android mode, right? So it's an Android device right there. Pure music mode basically just gives you access to FiiO's built-in music player, okay? And so you can't use any other apps with that, and it just gets Android out of the way and all of that. So it's like, again, it's just kind of like a direct transport kind of function if you use that. Okay, you can switch it to be an AirPlay device. You can do USB DAC mode so that if you want to plug your USB data port into the computer here or a computer there, you can use this as an outboard DAC amp for, your sound device on that if you wish there. And then of course you can still also power. You can plug both of these ports in at the same time and still use external power to access the desktop mode on there. And so that's USB DAC mode. And then of course you see Bluetooth receiving mode. Let's go back to Android just to be there. I said let's go back to Android just to be there. Oh, we're done. We are there. So then there we go. Okay. So, I mean, that's the basic functionality. Again, it is an Android device and all of that. And it's got a nice screen, not an amazing screen, but an effective one on it. The touch screen works decently well. You can see it's maybe not the most sensitive on there. Okay. My biggest complaint about this unit, okay, is not in how it sounds. It's in the use of it, and it's these buttons on the sides here. These buttons are too easy to push. So if you have this unit sitting in your pocket, or it's on the desktop, and you just go to pick it up, there's a very good chance that you'll hit something. Volume up, down, or you'll hit one of these transport buttons, okay? Let's play something here, okay? It's very easy to just come up and grab this, okay, and skip to the next track, and you're just like, uh-oh, what happened, right? Or pause it, okay? It's just way too easy to do something like that on this. And so even when it's in this case, okay, there's screen off. Even when it's in this case, like so, and it goes in fairly easy, the same thing still happens. Really easy to hit those buttons and change things when you just go to reach and grab the unit. And if you hold it in your hand, it's easy to hit the wrong thing and all of that. So it is nice to have this hold switch here, which allows you to, not do those things, right? And makes these buttons, inactive when you hit them. But the thing is that makes any adjustments you want to make a two-step process, where you have to wake the screen up, switch this thing back off, come back over to your transport functions, hit that, and again, you just see I bumped the volume too. Now, you can adjust the volume, okay, by either touching that right there for fast switching if you want, or you can just use these buttons up, down, and so forth. And for whatever reason, the maximum volume is 120. I don't know why. That's just how they do it, okay? All right. That's it. Okay, let's get into, so yeah, that is my biggest complaint, is just the way these buttons work. The hold function is nice, but it does make an extra step then when you actually want to intentionally make a change. That gets in the way and makes it an extra step. And so, yeah, that is my complaint about this unit. Everything else I think is really good. Let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the sound here and talk about why this is actually, I think, a pretty special unit for the price right here. So test gear, I primarily used it as a DAP because that's, its main function. I've got a micro SD card plugged in here, and you saw that I have a large number of FLAC files and DSD files on that micro SD card. All right, and I mostly use FiiO's internal player, included music player, which is pretty good on there to listen to those local files. I also, as you saw, checked this Rune the ready function right here. Used it as an endpoint here on my home system for Rune, which would have been playing either high-res or lossless FLAC files or DSD files locally. Again, streaming through Rune, or in the case of FLAC files, could have been streamed from Qobuz. Okay, so that's nice. I also tried Rune Arc on this as well away from home, and I mean, it works just about as well or as not well as Rune Arc normally works, for anyone who has experience with that. Okay, for those of you who are Rune Arc users, you know what I'm saying. Okay, now, things that I plugged into this then. I did use some IEMs on this. I tried the Meze Alba, which is a really solid IEM. Plug that in here. I have the Truth Ear Pure, I believe is the correct name, a new IEM out that I got that I've been using on this as well. That review will be coming up in the near future as well. And then I have a Rapsodio IEM on loan from a friend that I am using with used with this a little bit too. That is very uncomfortable and hard for me to wear, but I'll power through for that review as soon as I can as well. But then where this really gets interesting is with the full-sized headphones, and I tried a few of them on here. Focal Radiance, because that's an easy driving full-size headphone. That got time on here. This came in a little bit overlapping when I did the Focal Azuris review a few weeks ago, and so that got time on here as well. Again, that's another easy driving full-size headphone, dynamic driver. I tried the Dan Clark E3 on here to surprisingly good results, so we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a bit. And then also a couple of high impedance cans. The Mastrop Sennheiser HD6XX I plugged into here, and then I have in for review the Sivga Peng, which I believe is 350 ohms. And I tried that briefly on here as well. Haven't had a whole lot of time with that one yet, but again, I'm working on a review for that as well. Dog is barking. Apologies if you hear that. We're going to power through unless she keeps going. Okay. Oh, there she is. All right. So then let's talk about that sound. The DAC section on this is pretty solid, right? Like the quad of the Cirrus Logic DAC chips in this imparts like this kind of smooth, silky nature and presentation to the sound. It is a very neutral sounding device. I really did not notice much in the way of obvious colorations. If there is any coloration in it, it probably tilts just slightly warm, but I think that overall this is like comfortably within the range of a neutral sounding overall tuning and presentation to it. But again, it just has that kind of, again, just buttery, smooth, silky kind of presentation that I am generally not one who ascribes a specific sound to a lot of DAC chips because implementation seems to matter, but for whatever reason, the Cirrus Logic DAC implementations that I've generally heard have been, again, that silky, buttery, smooth kind of sound, which this has. But it is still reasonably resolving and textured and technical on top of that. So it has a good spatial presentation and all of that kind of stuff going in there too. Nicely three-dimensional and holographic for a device of its price and type. Okay, no real complaints there. Decently large soundstage, not huge, but also not intimate. Just kind of what it needs to be on that and so forth. It's also like nice and dynamic. It's got a quick sound to it. It's got some good thump and oomph in the low end, some good impact to like kick drum hits and that sort of thing on there as well. And that kind of leads me into the amplifier. And I have said this a couple of times. The most exciting part about this to me is the amplifier. I didn't have to listen to IEMs on this all that much. I tried a few, as I said in the test gear thing here, where it was whisper quiet, no hiss or anything like that. Okay, so very, very quiet, basically absent noise floor. Okay, but what really impressed me was its ability to drive full-size headphones and do it with authority. Okay, like it is nicely dynamic and punchy and powerful sounding, even with moderately difficult to drive full-size headphones. I mentioned that Dan Clark E3 right there. That is a closed back planar magnetic headphone. It is middling difficult to drive. It's not an easy drive. It's not something crazy hard to drive like a Susvara or an HE6 or a Tungsten or even Dan Clark's more expensive models like the Stealth or the Expanse. It's kind of in the middle, right? And this unit handled it well, even powered from the battery, not using the desktop mode. In high gain and, volume level that was still like 95 or 100 out of the 120, it still was giving the Dan Clarks good resolution, good drive, and like nice, full, punchy bass, okay, on that quick, snappy dynamics, like nice snappiness on snare drum hits and that sort of thing. It was not sounding thin or harsh at all. It was still nice and smooth through the treble. It in no way sounded like it was an amplifier that was struggling. That stands in contrast to a lot of the small little op-amp based kind of amplifiers that I have had experience with FiiO in the past. The FiiO M11S, the amplifier in that, or M11 Plus, excuse me, the amplifier in that was not particularly powerful. It wasn't very good. It sounded kind of thin and harsh and brittle and flat in the soundstage. This is the opposite of all of those things. This is nice and full and weighty, and it's got punch and dynamics to it, and it's nicely three-dimensional and so forth in its presentation as well. Again, it handled that DCA E3 with a fair amount of authority. Ditto the 300 ohm Sennheiser and the 350 ohm Sivga Peng that I was using with these two. The bass was nice and present. The treble was nice and smooth. It was nicely three-dimensional and holographic. It was an overall pleasant sound to it. This thing has the ability to drive even moderately difficult to drive full-size headphones remarkably well for a portable device of only $330 US. And again, its sonic profile is nice and smooth and buttery and engaging, okay, in there, still dynamic and fun to listen to, even though it's like smooth and just got that silky, buttery nature to it as well. A couple of listening sessions that I had with the Dan Clark 3 plugged into this, just sitting on the couch in my living room, seeing what this could do and being very pleasantly surprised by how well this drove the E3. I just really enjoyed listening, and it just occurred to me, it's like, this reviewing gig can be a lot of fun. I get to just play around with audio stuff, and it's great. And I was just really getting into the music that I was listening to there. It was highly engaging. It was, again, neutral with just a hint of warmth. It was punchy and dynamic, but it was also smooth and silky and refined sounding and all of that. And that combination, I just have so little to complain about, which to me is remarkable, again, for a $330 portable all-in-one unit to have all of that stuff going for it and to drive the Dan Clark E3 so well. I was just like, oh yeah, there's something special going on here. Prior to this unit, my recommendation to get into like full-on audiophile grade DAPs was this guy. This is the Hiby R4 guy in there, and it's a good unit. It's about $250 right now, I think, and it sounds really good too. Also Android-based and so forth. Has a lot of really good features going for it. But its amplifier is not particularly powerful. Like, Focal Radiance is about all it can handle for full-size headphones. Sounds really good with most IEMs, okay? But if you're a person who's kind of like me, where IEMs are a bit of a struggle with fit and comfort and so forth, they can sound really good. They're just not the most comfortable devices to use, and you've tried dozens of different tips and all of that, and you just can't quite get it to work for you. Then this unit doesn't really help then at that point, right? But this here at like $90 more, $80 to $90 more, so not outrageously that more expensive, just brings a much more powerful amplifier to it, which can be friendly for full-size headphones. So people out there who struggle with IEMs, and I know that you are out there and you're still looking for a good mobile solution, this is an excellent starting point for you right here. It's got good power to drive a lot of full-size headphones very well, and then it just has a very neutral, hint of warmth, silky smooth delivery that's got a lot of refinement to it, still with good resolution and texturing, okay, but is also fun and punchy and all of that in the low end. And again, just really surprised by how well it can drive some of those things. And that's really kind of the takeaway thing from me. And I should also mention, like, the FiiO K11R2R, okay, a desktop all-in-one unit. This has a better amp in it. Okay, I've always thought that the FiiO K11R2R, the DAC is the star of the show in that one, not the amp. This one is changing that. And that's why, again, I'm really excited for what FiiO is doing here in this unit with its amplifier. And I'm looking forward to what they come up with next. But I mean, this is a solid piece of its own right. And obviously, I recommend it. So, one more time, and then we'll get out of here. If you're struggling with IEMs, or even if you're not, you just want a good sounding DAP that won't break the bank, okay, gives you good sound and can drive some full-size headphones, even moderately difficult to drive headphones pretty well on the go, okay, FiiO M21. And then it still has a lot of features to go with you. Like you can use it as a Roon endpoint in your house, use the transport out, either USB or coax right there, go right into an outboard DAC, and you get a nice like Roon endpoint to use at home, in addition to your on-the-go unit and so forth there. Or you can always use it as a digital transport with local files. But yeah, good job to FiiO on this one. I hope they sell a lot of them, and I'm looking forward to what they do next with DAPs, because this, I think, represents a pretty big step forward for the price point. Well done. All right. Thanks to all of you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, check out my PayPal, my Patreon, channel memberships. Generally do all of those things you do to support YouTube channels. And as always, enjoy the music.